Ever walked down the street and heard a strange humming sound coming from nowhere? You turn around and there's an electric car slowly rolling past you. Kind of spooky, right? But here's the thing. That weird noise isn't a glitch or a broken speaker. It's actually there on purpose, and the reason why might surprise you. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of electric vehicle sounds. We're talking about why your neighbor's silent Tesla suddenly whoops and whirs, how car makers are literally inventing engine noises that don't exist, and why some people are absolutely furious about the whole thing. Stick around because by the end of this, you'll never hear an EV the same way again. Let's start with something most people don't think about. Picture this scenario with me for a second. You're crossing a parking lot, maybe checking your phone or chatting with a friend. You're half listening for cars because, well, that's what we've all learned to do since childhood. Cars make noise. You hear the engine getting louder, you know something's approaching. It's basically hardwired into our survival instincts at this point. But then, without warning, an electric car rolls right past you. No warning, no engine rumble, just silence. Your heart jumps because you had absolutely no idea it was there. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's actually a legitimate safety crisis that governments worldwide had to address. Think about people who are blind or have limited vision. They depend almost entirely on sound to navigate streets and parking areas. When vehicles started going completely silent, these vulnerable groups suddenly faced a brand new danger that didn't exist before. Research studies confirmed what seemed obvious. Electric cars were causing way more close calls and near misses than traditional vehicles, especially at slow speeds. In parking lots, residential streets, anywhere cars move slowly, EVs were sneaking up on people left and right. One researcher basically summed it up perfectly. What's great for the planet isn't always great for safety, so governments had to step in and create rules. The solution? Make EVs produce artificial sounds whether they want to or not. Here's where it gets really interesting. Countries around the world passed regulations requiring all new electric and hybrid vehicles to have something called an AVAS. That's short for Acoustic Vehicle Alerting System. Basically, it's a speaker system that makes your car produce sounds even though the electric motor itself is whisper quiet. The rules are pretty specific too. When your EV is traveling below about 20 kilometers per hour, that's roughly 12 miles per hour for those of you in the States, the car must emit a sound loud enough for pedestrians to hear. We're talking about 56 decibels, which is roughly as loud as a normal conversation you'd have indoors. Not ear-splitting, but definitely noticeable. But here's the cool part. The sound can't just be any random noise. It has to change based on what the vehicle is doing. If you're accelerating, the pitch needs to rise. If you're backing up, there should be a distinct reversing tone. The sound needs to communicate behavior and movement in a way our brains can instantly understand. And get this, there are actual rules about what the sounds can't be. Regulations specifically state that the noise cannot mimic animals or be overly musical. So no, you can't make your Tesla moo like a cow or play a little jingle. The sound needs to be somewhat similar to a conventional engine so people's instincts kick in properly. You hear it, you think car, not what on earth is that? Okay, so we've solved the safety issue. Pedestrians can hear EVs coming now. Problem solved, right? Not quite. Because now we've run into a completely different issue. The enthusiasts are upset. If you've ever loved cars, really loved them, you know that sound is a huge part of the experience. The growl of a V8 engine, the high-pitched scream of a sports car at full throttle, the deep rumble of a muscle car. These sounds trigger emotional responses in car lovers. They're tied to feelings of power, speed, freedom, excitement. Electric motors? They were. That's about it. No drama, no character, no soul. At least according to traditional car enthusiasts. This created a massive problem for car manufacturers. They've got millions of potential customers who are interested in going electric for environmental or economic reasons, but who absolutely dread giving up that visceral connection to their vehicle. The silence inside an EV cabin, the lack of engine feedback, the absence of that mechanical symphony. For some people, it's a deal breaker. So car companies started asking themselves a bold question. What if we just made up engine sounds? What if we created artificial noises that give drivers the emotional experience they crave, even though the actual motor doesn't produce those sounds naturally? And that's exactly what they're doing. This is where things get really wild. Major car manufacturers are now hiring sound designers, actual audio engineers and composers, to create soundtracks for their electric vehicles. We're not talking about the pedestrian warning sounds anymore. We're talking about sounds pumped into the cabin to make drivers feel like they're in a powerful, exciting machine. BMW just unveiled something called Hyperson X, which is probably the most ambitious attempt at this yet. They've created 43 different sound signals for their upcoming Neue Klasse electric vehicle. vehicles. 43 factorial. These aren't random beeps either. BMW's design sound studio crafted these sounds to evoke specific emotions and respond to exactly what you're doing while driving. The system has different modes too. There's a personal mode and a sport mode, each with its own carefully designed audio character. BMW claims these sounds are inspired by nature, art, and science. Though let's be real, they're also inspired by trying to make an electric motor sound like it has gears and exhaust pipes. The really clever part is how the system integrates with the car's operating system. As you accelerate harder, the sound builds in intensity. As you ease off, it settles down. It creates the illusion that you're controlling a traditional engine, complete with all the feedback and character that comes with it, even though you're just managing an electric motor's power output. Other manufacturers are doing similar things. Some lean futuristic with spaceship-like sounds. Others try to recreate the experience of legendary combustion engines. There are EVs out there that can be programmed to sound like classic sports cars, complete with gear changes that don't actually exist. Let's be honest, there's something fundamentally weird about this whole situation. An electric motor is incredibly efficient, partly because it's so simple. No multi-speed transmission, no complex valve timing, no exhaust system, just electromagnetic forces spinning a shaft. The simplicity is beautiful from an engineering standpoint. The motor itself makes some noise, sure, but it's high-pitched and subtle, nothing like the mechanical orchestra of a combustion engine. So when manufacturers add artificial sounds, you're essentially experiencing theater. You're hearing a performance that's been carefully scripted and produced to trigger specific emotions. It's not organic. It's not emerging naturally from the mechanical processes happening under the hood, or frunk in many EVs. It's pure simulation. This creates a strange disconnect for some people. You might hear an EV that sounds like it's revving hard and shifting through gears, but intellectually you know that's impossible. There are no gears to shift. There's no revving happening. It's all smoke and mirrors, or rather, speakers and software. For purists, this feels almost insulting, like the car is lying to you, like manufacturers think you're too unsophisticated to appreciate what an electric motor actually does, so they're serving you automotive baby food, pre-chewed and simplified. But for others, they don't care if it's artificial, they just know it makes driving more enjoyable, and honestly, both perspectives are valid. So here we are, car manufacturers are investing millions into sound design, creating elaborate audio systems to make EVs feel more like traditional cars. But will it actually convince people to make the switch? That's the billion-dollar question, literally. The entire automotive industry is betting heavily on electric vehicles. They're being forced to by regulations, by market trends, by environmental concerns. But they also need consumers to actually want these cars, not just tolerate them. Early evidence suggests that sound design does matter to buyers. When people test drive EVs with well-designed audio systems versus completely silent ones, many report preferring the ones with character and feedback, even when they know the sounds are artificial. It makes the driving experience feel more engaging, more connected, more familiar. Think about it this way. We've already accepted artificial sounds in tons of other contexts. Your camera app on your phone makes a shutter sound even though there's no physical shutter. Your computer makes typing sounds even though the keyboard doesn't need to. We've learned that these audio cues enhance user experience even when they're technically unnecessary. Maybe fake engine sounds are just the automotive version of that. Maybe we'll look back in 10 years and nobody will even question it anymore. Or maybe not. Maybe there's a generational shift happening where younger drivers who grew up with quiet technology won't care about engine sounds at all. Maybe the whole exercise becomes unnecessary as people's expectations evolve. Whether you're shopping for an EV, already own one, or are just curious about where this is all heading, here's what you should know. Those weird humming sounds you hear from slow-moving EVs, they're safety features, required by law, and they're probably saving lives even if they sound a bit odd. That's not going away anytime soon. The sounds inside EVs, those are becoming increasingly sophisticated and customizable. If you buy an electric car in the coming years, you'll likely be able to choose how it sounds, or even turn the interior sound off completely if you prefer silence. And if you're a die-hard enthusiast who thinks fake engine sounds are ridiculous, well, there's an interesting silver lining. Some aftermarket companies are already developing systems that let you program your EV to sound like specific legendary engines. Want your electric sedan to sound like a vintage Ferrari? There's probably going to be an app for that. Electric vehicles are fundamentally changing how we think about cars. The silence that makes them so efficient also makes them potentially dangerous and emotionally unsatisfying for many drivers. Manufacturers are responding by essentially creating audio illusions, sophisticated systems that add back the drama and feedback that electric motors naturally lack. It's weird, it's artificial, it's arguably unnecessary from a purely functional standpoint, but it might also be exactly what the automotive industry needs to convince millions of people to embrace electric vehicles without feeling like they're giving up something essential. So next time you hear a strange whooshing sound from a car passing by, you'll know exactly what's happening. That's progress dressed up in the costume of tradition, trying to carry us into a quieter, cleaner future without leaving our emotions behind. What do you think? Would you want your EV to sound like a traditional engine, or do you prefer embracing the silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content exploring the weird, wonderful world where technology meets tradition. Tell us in the comments what else you would like to watch. See you in the next one.